So we have entered the month of August. All of the relevant data is in. We're going to break it all down for you here today so that you can be the best prepared buyer or seller here in the Central Maine market. Stick around. We've got your August market update coming up today. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is your Central Maine realtor, Nick Isgro with eXp Realty. And today, like I just said, we're going to break down all of that relevant data here in the late summer months. We're headed into August, so that you can be the best buyer or seller on the market today. Because as you know, there's typically a seasonal slowdown around this time of year, but what are the numbers telling us? How do we predict where we are headed this fall? Remember last year, we actually headed into somewhat of a little bit of a slump that lasted all the way through January, February. Is that gonna happen this year? Maybe, maybe not. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Before I get into that, I wanna welcome you here to the channel. If you've never been here before, we cover all things real estate here in the state of Maine, but particularly right here in the Central Maine market. If that is of interest to you or adds value to your process in the buying and selling of homes, or maybe you're just interested in Maine real estate, do me a favor. Go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, smash that little alarm bell. You'll be notified every time we put out new content. All right, now seeing as though inventory has definitely been the name of the game over the last year, what is going on with inventory? What's happening? We're gonna start there, and then we'll move from inventory into market timing and pricing. These things are obviously all related, but we're gonna paint that picture as we go through. As always, I want to ask you to pay attention more to the trends, what's happening trend-wise as opposed to the number of any individual month, because that is how we're going to get a good understanding and depth of perception to figure out what this picture looks like as we move forward. So kicking things right off, I want to get right into new listings. All right, you buyers out there are going to be happy to see this. New listings here in Central Maine over the last month, 217 new listings. This is the most new listings added to market that we have seen in a 1 month period since last August, which was actually 224. So we're not even at last year's numbers of what we were putting into the marketplace, but you can see we are finally coming up. Sellers are, taking care of business. I don't know if this is getting towards the end of the summer. They've had kind of their July fun and now they're moving into the market, or maybe perhaps we're just getting ready for fall. There could be a lot of workplace moves, school district moves, things like that. People want to get stuff done. They want to get settled into their destination before fall. Well, July was definitely the month that we've seen so far this year with new inventory coming to market. So 217 new listings. So in a market that has definitely been crunched inventory-wise, this should have been welcome news to buyers. How did this translate over into sales activity? We're going to break this down as we always do, first looking at pending listings. So this is homes that went into escrow during the month. We're still waiting to close, and then we'll hop over to sold listings, which is listings that actually went into escrow either the month before, or maybe it was a quick cash sale during the month, but either way, they actually closed the sale during the month. The deeds changed possession during the month of July. Let's take a look and see what that does. And then we'll wrap it up looking at overall active inventory as we exit the month. First, let's bring up pending listings. All right, pending listings, 125 contracts during the month that we're seeing here that are hanging out, gonna close. We would guess somewhere in the month of August, maybe a few trickling out into September, but 125, that's actually a dip from the month before. So what is that telling us? And by the way, look at that trend line, not anywhere near where we were a year ago, although we were putting more inventory on the market a year ago. Still, you would expect more. What does this tell us? This tells us that maybe buyers are remaining a little bit pickier than they were a year ago. And when we get to days on market, this is going to be something that I want you to remember, that even though we added all that new inventory to market, not all of it went under contract. 217 new listings, 125 listings going into escrow. That tells us that there's going to be a remainder balance that maybe pushes us into a higher number of the overall active inventory as we close out the month. What happened with sales? Bringing it up right now, sales, same thing, 143 homes sold during the month. This is not only a slight dip from the month before, only by 10 homes, but still it was a slight dip. But from the year before, 170, sales are definitely down. What does this mean? So if sales are down overall, we had less going into escrow, we had less homes sold during the month than we did a year ago. We should have a huge number of active homes in the market, right? Let's bring it up and take a look and see what's going on there. As you could have guessed, 287 active listings. This is great news for buyers. What this tells us is that homes that entered the market, didn't necessarily sell during the first couple of weeks. The inventory on the market is growing, but one of the things I want to point out here is look at where we were to last year, because ultimately what you guys always want to know is how does this affect pricing, right? Whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, you want to know what is going on with pricing, how does this all come around? A year ago, we had well over 300 homes on the market during this time, so we had an increased sales volume, but not necessarily in comparison to the overall active inventory, trending actually fairly similar if you look at the overall inventory versus what's going on with the sold and pending listings. Now, one thing to note is that there is typically a seasonal dip of buyer activity during the months of July and August. People are headed out for summer, they're getting all of the time in they can with the kids, with the family, traveling, anything they can do. And then as things get back into school, usually in October, November, we see a little blip upwards in the market before we hit the holiday months of December and January. Last year that didn't happen. Last year, remember, interest rates went up. We saw a big dip in buyer activity that didn't really rebound until this last spring. But what I'm looking at here doesn't suggest any of that. It actually shows that we're on fairly seasonal track. We do have more inventory on the market. That should be great news for buyers who have been hanging out, not really finding what you're looking for over the last couple of months, or maybe getting outbid on some of those multiple offer scenarios. It will be interesting to see if that does loosen up over the next month. I would imagine that it would, although the overall active inventory is still a little bit low, but this could be a welcome opportunity, a short window, if you will, in the market for you buyers to get in there and find that home that you're looking for as new inventory comes on the market. To put all things in perspective here on the inventory side of things, I want to just bring up the total months of inventory. Now, total months of inventory is how much supply do we have in the market? What do I mean by supply? It means if we were to add no new listings to the market at all and just sell everything we have, how long would it take to sell what we have on the market right now? Now, what I want you to keep in mind is that the balanced market, typically what we think of a balance, kind of an equilibrium between buyers and sellers, is 6 months of inventory. Where are we today? Let's bring it up. Just over 1 month of inventory. And in fact, a year ago, we were only just below 1 month. So that difference of 0.94 to 1.07 of where we are today, not really significant when you think about the overall picture. This is why pricing, as we will see in a minute, is remaining strong in the market. No matter what's going on, these minute changes from month to month when we're looking at, how many went pending, how many sold, we see the overall inventory. At the end of the day, we still have roughly a month of supply on the market. Well, if you're a buyer in the market right now, that's not a lot of inventory for you to choose from. And that's why even though we had fewer pending sales, even though we saw that increase of overall active listings remaining in the market, if you're a buyer right now, it probably doesn't feel that way. It probably feels like you're still being squeezed. You're trying to get to stuff before there's multiple offers on it. This is why. At the end of the day, we just are maintaining inventory levels. You can see over the last year where we had that kind of a blip, where the market did go down a little bit and we saw the price drops as inventory increased. We're just not there anymore, and we're back to roughly where we were a year ago. Let's take a look at pricing. When we look at pricing, the three things that we're always going to look at is days on market, so we can get a sense of the market time. How does that affect the average list to sale price ratio? How much are people actually getting versus what they are asking for the home? And then the median sold price. What's happening with the median sold price here in Kennebec County during the month? What does that look like from this year to last year or even last month? Let's break it down. First, I want to bring up days on market. Remember I said we were adding a lot of new homes, more new homes in the month before, but we were actually selling fewer of them. You would think that that meant that there was some layover time on some of these homes coming to market and that the average days on market would increase. Well, it did. Take a look at this, 27 days versus 18 days last month, so there is a little bit longer market time. Some of that's going to come from the seasonal slowdown of buyers. Buyers are busy, they're trying to get into the market, but you know what? They're also hanging out at the lake, they're going to the ocean, they're going camping, doing all the fun things that they should be doing with their families this time of the year. Also, as not all new inventory is going to be the most advantageous, you always have a mix of what we call those cream puff homes, those really nice houses that are going to sell in a couple days versus the homes that maybe need a little bit more work. Maybe you need some more time of discernment for the buyers who are looking at them as they're weighing their options, navigating the market. And buyers also are just getting burned out a little bit. I'm seeing that with my own buyers. The market was really hot this spring coming into summer, and we're seeing a little bit of that burnout of people saying, you know what, I'm just gonna take a little bit of a breather before we hop back in. All of these things are factors leading to a little bit longer market time. Although in perspective, if we look over the last year, not really a huge difference from what we've seen over the last 12 months. We're really kind of right on par with where we've been, and I'm guessing over the future months we're going to see something fairly similar to where we've been as well. Sale to list price ratio, what's going on there? Bringing it up here, a little bit of a dip, 101.7, but roughly 102% of what homeowners are asking for is what they're getting. Even though we saw last month, we saw it go up to almost 103 when we had that 18 days on the market. Now we're at 27 days on market, 102. But still, what this is telling us is that on the homes that are being sold, there are most likely multiple offer scenarios because that price is being driven over what people are asking for. So if you're looking at the market and you're a buyer and you see a really nice house and you're like, this is the one, what should we offer? And you hear there's other offers, just know in the back of your mind that roughly people are closing at about 102% of the list price. That's going to give you a good guide to make a competitive offer if you find yourself in one of those multiple offer scenarios. Of course, as always, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it to you to pay that much for the house? But if it is, use this as a guidepost, maybe offer a little bit more. Maybe you don't have to, depending on the specifics of your offer. You might have other things. You might have cash financing, you might have a shorter time to close. Who knows, maybe you're waiving inspections, but if you're looking just at the price, this is the guidepost. The last thing I want to look at here is the median sold price, what's going on in pricing. As I've shown you every month, there has not been much going on with this specific number over the last year. It's gone up a little bit, take a look. Again, back-to-back months, $300,000 median sold price here in Kennebec County. But even though that was the same as last month, and even though there were some months over the last year where that dipped a little bit, overall, what this chart shows us, as I keep saying, is price stability here in Central Maine. Prices are remaining strong, but they're not going astronomically above where they were a year ago. They're not skyrocketing. The market's not getting overheated. The market is adjusting with itself as we move along and maintaining a fairly steady price structure. Although, as we would expect, it has seen some appreciation over the last year. All right, that is it for my market update this month. What I expect over the next couple of months is we're gonna see more of the same. I do not expect to see a drastic drop off like we saw last year because that was caused by the interest rates. Well, what we've seen over the spring and summer is that people have adjusted to that new interest rate environment, and unless we see some major change with inventory, which I don't see coming, then I think we're going to see more of the same over the next couple months. You know, maybe some minor adjustments here and there in the details of the numbers, but the overall picture, a strong and steady market here in Central Maine. What are your thoughts? What do you guys think? What has your experience been? Are you a buyer that's maybe getting into some burnout on the market? Are you a seller that's just had a great experience or maybe a not so great experience? Whatever's going on, whatever your predictions are, drop a comment below. Would love to hear from you. Of course, if you're looking for a real estate professional to guide you through this crazy market, all of my contact information is linked in the post below. Would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you for sticking around to the end of this video. And until the next one, I'll see you next time.